Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Joy Hubbard, and I am here to present why background checks are extremely important to do in the workplace. Without a background check, there's many consequences that come along legally and physically and mentally within the workplace as well. Background investigations are quite important. Most jobs will have you fill out a background application before they choose to hire you. This is for many reasons. Um, negligent hiring and retention are very important concepts here. Negligent hiring has the potential to have injury risk on the job. So therefore, if a manager or a CEO hires a subordinate and he or she injures somebody else on the job, they not conduct a correct background check, then that is the employer's fault for why any of the injury or consequence of negligent hiring occurred. This means that an employer fails to check the employee's background, not knowing of any mental illness or bipolarism, if you will, that the employee might have. As well as negligent hiring, we have negligent retention. So after a person has been hired, the employer becomes aware that that person is unfit for the job and decides to keep the employee despite the fact that the employee is not capable of meeting mental, physical, or even just emotional requirements for the job. The risk factor as well can be the injury of another employee or authority within the workplace. Now, the next question is, should a company consider hiring an ex-offender? Now, granted, yeah, people change, people have new life, new way, but once again, what means should a employer or CEO want an ex-offender working for their company? Negligent hiring retention continues. Many organizations tend to use outside vendors to do background checks. On other times, you might find an employer that will look into your social medias, such as Twitter, Facebook. LinkedIn is now a new social media, ties in companies with one another. Tumblr as well is another blog site where, people might be able to see if they want an employee on their company's brand. Other sources may include job records, credit history, testing records, educational certificates, drug tests, social security numbers, sex offender lists, motor vehicle records, and military records. There's legal constraints that come along with doing background checks. The applicant must have a document to sign release documentation. Some states prohibit employers from getting certain credit information, so only certain states will allow certain credit information to be disclosed to the company. Fair Credit Reporting Act requires disclosing that a credit check is going to be made, so no employee or applicant is going to be given a credit check without his or her consent. Upon doing this credit check, the employee must give the applicant the option of whether or not that person wants to receive a copy of that credit check or not. This is very sensitive information that is between the employer and the applicant. Medical examinations and inquiries. The ADA prohibits a company from rejecting an individual due to a disability. Now, there are gray areas in that where if a person is able to complete the job essentials, then the employer employer has the option to, um, if they cannot meet the job essentials, then the employer has the option to not have to hire that person because they're not capable to meet the requirements of what it takes to complete that job effectively and efficiently. Asking applicants questions relating to current and medical history is prohibited until after hiring. Once the job offer is made, it's okay to go ahead and ask someone what their medical history is. Upon this questioning, I'm not exactly sure why an applicant cannot be questioned that until after, but ADA does not allow it against, prejudgment, so therefore no one can be able to go ahead and ask such questions. Pre-employment exams, excluding drug tests, are prohibited by ADA. You're not allowed to do physicals until after hiring. Any type of drug testing is okay, however. Upon drug testing, this can be done with a medical exam or without it. So you could do drug testing before an employee is hired, or you could do it after an employee is hired. In the selection process, drug testing has increased significantly. Detailed questionnaires must be completed upon drug testing. This is to avoid any confusion between prescribed drugs and illegal drugs within the system. If tested positive, medical facility must give a second test, and this test will more than likely be more detailed. The employer at this point now has the option to hire or not hire a candidate or applicant. References are a big thing when it comes to background checks. Work-related references from previous employers, previous professors, etc., as far as any business-connected reference that ties in well with the company that you're applying for would be well to put on your job application for a background check. This will provide an overview of what that candidate, his or her backgrounds might be, or characteristics that they might have displayed on the job before this job was in question. Good questions. Here are some examples that a supervisor might ask. They might ask what position was held. They might ask what dates of the employment, what the job duties were, the strengths and weaknesses that they observed about the applicant, where there were any problems within their time at that company, and would you rehire this person? That is a major question, simply because rehiring someone means that you want them a part of your team. They did nothing to bring down your company or hinder your company in any efficient ways. So asking if somebody would rehire another person is huge. It's really big. Upon making a job offer, this is usually made over the phone, formalized via email or letter, and then the most important thing about a job offer is that the contracting must be reviewed by a legal counsel. Terms and conditions are clearly defined within this contract, and it must be signed and returned to the employer. This application that is now being turned into a job offer is going to forever be a part of this person's personal file for future referencing. And this is all. Thank you so much for giving me the time to explain to you what is so significant about background checks.